Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
And welcome in, you guys. An absolutely brutal loss for the New York Mets here in Game 3 of the Subway Series. Damn, that really sucked. Oh boy, that is one of the more frustrating losses of the season that you'll see right there. Damn, I don't know what else to say. That absolutely sucked. The Mets get their asses handed to them there in the 8th inning in a game that they were neck and neck with the Yankees from start to finish. Multiple opportunities, the top three in the order doing absolutely nothing for the Mets, and the Yankees finally break through on Alonso's throwing error there in the bottom of the 8th inning. Opens the door for a huge 6-run inning for the Yankees as they do take 2 out of 3 in the first edition of the Subway Series. That really sucked. Okay, what's up, guys? I'm Tony Metro. If you're new to the channel, be sure to leave this video a like. It doesn't cost you anything. And subscribe. I do daily Mets content. We do post-game streams, and I do everything in between right here on this YouTube channel. You could also follow me on all my other platforms, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. They are all listed in the description below. You could check out my brand new video I just dropped today, how the 1992 Mets became the worst team that money can buy. Well, I'll tell you what, this team is kind of looking like that after today's performance against the Yankees and really this entire weekend. I know the Mets won on Saturday, but I was not impressed with them at all, even had they come back to win this game tonight on Sunday Night Baseball. But obviously that was not the case, as they do drop this one a final of 8-2. The Yankees erupting for 6 runs there in the bottom of the 8th, capped off by the Cody Bellinger grand slam. Not sure how many ballparks it would have got out if it was in the first row. It did have a lot of height on it, so I don't know. I'm going to have to see if Would It Dong has posted it yet, but I don't know. Either way, the Mets were not coming back and winning this game. Let's get into it all. What's up, Metro Polly Johns? How you doing, man? Our pitcher gave too much traffic. Yeah, they did. It seemed like every single inning, whoever was pitching for the Mets was walking somebody for the Yankees. We were not in the zone tonight. None of our pitchers. David Peterson did settle in pretty nicely. We'll get into him here in a second. But it just seemed like no matter who was pitching, even Huascar Brazoban, who I made a video about today saying he's probably their most trusted reliever. Yes, he ultimately got the job done, but not before giving us agita and putting our hearts in our throats. So not a great performance from anybody on this team today, if you ask me, quite frankly. Very, very, very frustrating. What else you got there, Johnny? Sloppy baseball by the Mets. Yeah, I mean, sloppy baseball, not only that, so obviously the Pete Alonso throwing error is going to go down as sloppy baseball, but just uninspired, lethargic looking baseball from the Mets this entire weekend. And honestly, it goes back to the first game of the series with the Pirates. We're going on a full week now where I've sat down on my couch, I've watched the Mets, and I could pick out at least 1 or 2 plays, multiple at-bats throughout each of those games and say they don't look like they're tuned in right now. They don't look like they're hyped to be playing right now. And if you can't get hyped for the Subway Series where they are absolutely tormenting Juan Soto with boos, then I don't know what will get you up, but they have looked lifeless since last Monday against the Pirates, and it carried over into this series with the Yankees here over the weekend in the Bronx. Very, very frustrating for sure. So that home run from Bellinger, the grand slam, would have went out in 5 of 30 ballparks, according to Metro Polly Jonathans. Okay, yeah, well, don't think it would have mattered because I don't think the Mets were rallying for 2 runs. At the very least, that would have been a sac fly, so it probably would have been 5-2 anyway. So again, I don't think the Mets were rallying. The offense looked horrible tonight. They looked horrible yesterday. They looked horrible on Friday, and they looked terrible the entire 3-game series against the Pirates. It's fine time we start talking about it. The Mets offense has got some serious issues that they need to get figured out. Let's just go through it really quick. David Peterson was on the bump. Obviously, really rocky first inning. There was the error from Mark Vientos that set up that entire inning. He ends up giving up 2 runs on the Cody Bellinger RBI single, or I guess that was a double down the right field line as it got caught in that little jutting stands there. And the Mets fall behind immediately. But then in the top half of the second inning, Jeff McNeil with 2 outs. The Mets were set up first and second. Nobody's out. And of course, Francisco Alvarez strikes out. Starling Marte strikes out. But luckily, Jeff McNeil, who is probably the guy that performed the best this entire weekend. Who would have ever thought I'd be saying that about Jeff McNeil after how much I've roasted him over the years? Gets the RBI single to get the Mets on the board. And then creating a run right here. Coming in the top of the 5th, still a 2-1 game. Max Fried is just shoving, and Jeff McNeil sets that inning up with a leadoff walk, gets to second on a sacrifice bunt, takes third on a fielder's choice, and then scored on that, what I guess they considered a wild pitch from Max Fried. So 2-2 ball game. We go to the seventh. Huascar Brazoban tight roping out of danger there as he walks a couple batters, the intentional, unintentional walks to Aaron Judge and then to Cody Bellinger, and it brings up Anthony Volpe. Yeah, I said it. He's ass. That guy sucks. I don't care if the Yankees won 2 out of 3. They can go down knowing that they have a horrible shortstop. Another failed, hyped up Yankees prospect, typical, just like the rest of them. Estevan Florial, Gary Sanchez, Miguel Andujar, the list goes on and on. Davy Garcia, does that ring a bell? Yeah, okay, whatever. So another failed Yankees prospect in Anthony Volpe. And unfortunately, the Mets bats just do nothing. You know, in the 8th, they go down meekly. Mark Vientos, another rough game in this one, both in the field and at the plate. And then came the bottom of the 8th. Ryan Stanek on. He walks the leadoff batter. Then he gets another guy on base. And then after that, was able to get to a 0-2 count. Can not put away, can't even think of his name right now, the dude for the Yankees, Vivas. Jorbit Vivas for the Yankees, just putting up a battle. I think it was a 12-13 pitch at bat, just fouling away pitch after pitch, wasting bullets from Stanek. Finally gets a ball, and of course, it gets hit to Pete Alonso and makes a horrible throwing error to home plate. Shades of Lucas Duda, and the Yankees score the go-ahead run, make it 3-2. I mean, look, it happens. You know, physical mistakes are going to happen in this game. It's unfortunate it happens in that part of the game, in the 8th inning at Yankee Stadium here, when we're trying to take the rubber game against them in the Bronx over the weekend. But physical mistakes are going to happen, and it sucks. It looked literally just like it did for Lucas Duda in the World Series back in 2015. I mean, it just was brutal. I saw it. I put my TV on mute. I didn't want to hear those scummy Yankee fans cheering and celebrating. And I was like, all right, you know what? It is what it is. It sucks. It happens. I'll be honest. We're going to see the replay right here in a second now over on the screen. I think it was a bang-bang play. Even if he makes a perfect throw, it was going to be a bang-bang play. And I might even venture to say that I think he would have been safe diving into home head first. Let's take a look at the slow-mo replay coming up right here. You tell me in the comments, because I think even if it's a perfect throw on the third base side of the bag, I honestly think he's going to be safe. I really do. I don't think a perfect throw would have even got him there. It just adds insult to injury that it's such an embarrassingly terrible throw, just the visual of it. And of course, now it's LOL Mets, right? It's going to be LOL Mets. They're going to be showing us that one on Twitter, and Yankee fans will be chirping about that one for a long time, and other people that want to hate on the Mets. So it's just an annoying way for the go-ahead run to score. And then, of course, more insult to injury. Cody Bellinger with the bases loaded, pop-up home run, only out in 5 of 30 MLB ballparks, but okay, whatever. So it didn't really matter at that point. It was 4-2. Paul Goldschmidt added an RBI single right before that, and that would have been a sacrifice fly to score another run. It would have been 5-2. I don't think the Mets were coming back, and that's because the offense was so horrific today. So it is a final 8-2. Yankees do take 2 out of 3 here in the first edition of the Subway Series. I'll be honest, I'm not moved by either team. I don't think that the Mets are a great team. I don't think the Yankees are a great team. I think they're both good teams. I think they're both very flawed. I think the Mets showed more flaws than the Yankees did this weekend. I mean, the Yankees could barely scratch out any runs other than some infield singles and sac flies on Friday. Yesterday, same deal, only 2 runs. And today, they only had 2 runs until the Mets' errors and defense opened the door. And that was the Mets' flaws in this series. They did not play strong defense. This is something that's going back at least 2 weeks now, where the Mets have been throwing the ball all around the infield, and we expect a lot better. Mark Vientos, let's start with him in the first inning. This is becoming an issue because we've seen Brett Beatty play a much cleaner third base so far this year than Vientos. And it'd be one thing if Mark Vientos was hitting the way he was in 2024. He's not doing that. He's not even close. Some really poor at-bats this weekend. A lot of really tough at-bats for Mark Vientos, specifically tonight. He ends up on the night with an 0 for 4 and 2 strikeouts in this one. I'm sorry, he was 1 for 4 and had 1 strikeout in this one. So if Mark Vientos was doing what he did in 2024, okay, you overlook the occasional error at third base. He'll make up for it with his bat. He's not doing that right now, and he's now committed multiple errors in the last several weeks, and it is becoming an issue to the point where I am seriously starting to consider Do you make Mark Vientos the DH, and do you put Brett Beatty at third? Beatty's been hitting a little better. Vientos is definitely deficient in defense right now. And Starling Marte really hasn't been doing a whole lot. I know he had a double today, but for the most part, let's be honest, we know what Marte is. He's basically a 220 hitter at this point. He has not produced for them in that DH spot. So that's my first thought here from tonight. Secondly, I thought David Peterson bulldogged his way through 6. I thought that was a really good start. Obviously, Vientos does not help him in the first inning, so it actually only goes down as 1 earned run for Peterson on the night. He finishes with a line of 6 innings pitched, just 3 hits, 1 earned run. 4 walks is really what hurt him. As you were alluding to there, Jonathan, a lot of walks, a lot of traffic on the bases in this one today. That just really crushed the Mets, made it impossible for them to keep the Yankees at bay. And even though they only scored 2 runs, when you constantly have your pitchers pitching in those high stress innings, it just wears on you as a staff. Even if it's not the same guy pitching from inning to inning, you feel that momentum. You can feel that energy that the Yankees are going to keep getting guys on. They worked good at bats. I will give the Yankees credit for that, but I also think the Mets were nibbling. I also think this home plate umpire sucked tonight. I mean, you couldn't tell what he was going to call a ball and what he was going to call a strike. It was completely inconsistent. I'm fine with it if you're going to be consistent, but you can't be changing up the zone the entire day. You heard Carlos Mendoza barking from the Mets dugout all evening about that. So that was very annoying. But I do think that the Mets pitching staff was nibbling too much. The Yankees did a really good job of laying off pitches, working counts, and getting it to the next guy. Now, that being said, you got to give credit to Brazoban getting out of that inning. I mean, granted, he did it against a quadruple A player in Anthony Volpe, and he sucks, right? So whatever, that's okay. 2 times this guy left the bases loaded. First time against David Peterson, bases loaded, first pitch swinging, hits a 4 chopper to shortstop. Lindor throws him out, no problem. And then the next one, there in the 7th inning with the bases loaded, Brazoban can't find the zone. He starts him out 3-0, and still Brazoban throws, I think, 3 pitches all out of the zone. Volpe swings at every one of them until he strikes out. That dude is ass. Ass. He's terrible. Okay, I'm taking a little bit of joy in this. Okay, let me have this because we didn't get the win tonight. But in any case, the Yankees obviously put up better at-bats than the Mets today. I mean, you start at the top of the order. Look at the 1, 2, 3 for the Mets tonight. As you can see down here, the Mets 1, 2, 3 of Lindor, Soto, Alonso combined to go 0 for 12 with 4 strikeouts. 2 of them from Soto, 2 of them from Pete Alonso. I mean, you're not going to win any games like that. I mean, you're just not going to win many games with your top 3 in your lineup that you're paying a lot of money, by the way, to go 0 for 12 and strike out 4 times. Lindor had that ball, and I think it was in the 6th or the 7th inning with 2 men on that he roped to right field. It looked off the bat like it was out, but I guess it was off at the end of the bat. It just seemed like the Mets weren't catching breaks. And I'm not making excuses. The Mets did not play well in this series. I am fully upfront about that, but it just seemed like the Mets were hitting some that just weren't going anywhere. The Pete Alonso ball in the first inning, they said there was a 10-mile-per-hour gust of wind in that very moment that kept that ball in the park. Like, what? What kind of voodoo devil magic are the Yankees playing with at their stadium? The Mets didn't hit a single home run in this 3-game series in this Little League ballpark. So it's a very, very annoying series for the Mets. And I think it's an indictment on this offense because they don't look good right now. Again, it starts at the top with those 3 guys, Lindor, Soto, and Alonso. But look at the rest of that lineup as well. The Mets only had 3 hits tonight. You had Vientos with 1, Starling Marte with a double, and Jeff McNeil with his RBI single. That's it. That's the entire Mets offense from tonight. It has been bad. The approach at the plate has been horrific from the Mets ever since it seems like the beginning of that series with the Pirates last Monday. That seems like the line of demarcation where the Mets went from hitting 9 home runs over that weekend against the Cubs to welcoming Paul Skeens and the Pirates. And ever since then, they have looked horrible at the plate. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it. I'm not an MLB hitting coach. I can only tell you what I know being a fan for 30 years, but I will say maybe being not aggressive enough, maybe being too aggressive in some situations, but something about it is just not right. It doesn't make sense that the entire lineup would be in a funk at the same time like this. And that's exactly what it is. You don't only get 3 hits in a game when you have a lineup that has as much talent as we believe that this Mets one does. I mean, I know it was Max Fried, and I know he had nasty stuff, that curveball, the bender. He was dotting the corners with his fastball. All the credit to him. But still, the Mets did not put up very good at-bats against him whatsoever. It was just a brutal, brutal game. They still scratch across 2 runs. You get the Jeff McNeil RBI, and then he ends up taking, or I guess stealing home, if you want to call it that, on the wild pitch there during Juan Soto's at-bat. But in the end of the day, you get 3 hits in a game, you're not going to win many ball games. Pitching, for the most part, did their job until the water just was too much and the dam broke in the 8th inning. And it was obviously coupled with the Pete Alonso throwing error there. Again, I believe, and you can see it right here on the screen right now, I really do believe even a perfect throw, he's safe at home on this play. You tell me, what do you think in the comments over here? Because I really believe it was going to be a bang-bang play, 50-50 at home plate. I probably even say that he was going to be safe on a perfect throw up the third baseline and right down there where he at home plate where he would have needed to apply the tag. Francisco Alvarez, that is. But I mean, in the end, the visual of it sucks. The visual of Alonso airmailing that one so bad. Like I said before, shades of Lucas Duda in the 2015 World Series. And it's just one of those like LOL Mets kind of things that's going to hang over us for a little bit until the Mets hopefully take 2 out of 3 against the Yankees at Citi Field in July. But I don't know. What are your guys' main takeaways from this weekend? For me, even had the Mets come back and won this game, even if Soto would have hit a game-winning home run in the 9th inning, I know he wasn't due up, but, you know, plug and play, whatever name you want in there, hits a game-winning home run, Mets win 3-2, I would be happy, of course, to win 2 out of 3. And even more happy because it came against the Yankees in their stadium. But I would not have been thrilled about how the Mets played this weekend. They just looked super lethargic all weekend. From Friday up until the very last out there, this Mets team just did not look interested. The pitching staff, really good job yesterday, really good job today. Like I said before, it just became too much there in the 8th inning with the throwing error and the top of the lineup coming up for the Yankees. But the lineup, the hitters, just looked disinterested. Obviously, I don't think that's the case. I don't think the Mets, Nimmo and Alonso and Soto and Lindor actually came to the ballpark and were like, I don't really feel like playing today. But the at-bats just did not look like they were in tune today. And it's been like this for a whole week now, going back to Monday, the beginning of that series with the Pirates. So, I mean, really, really, really frustrating series. Not because you lose 2 out of 3, not because you lose 2 out of 3 to the Yankees, but the way you lost these 2 out of 3. I just did not come away feeling like the Mets played their best baseball this week. And I don't feel like they have for at least going on a week now. And it does not get any easier. The Mets are literally taking a shower right now, packing their suitcase up, and they are heading to LaGuardia or JFK and getting on a flight right out to Logan Airport in Boston. They have a 3-game series beginning with the Red Sox. The Sox have definitely underachieved this year so far. A little bit of turmoil there, it seems, in the clubhouse, but they are still a quality baseball team. They can turn it around. The Mets are going to have to go out and wake up because they look like they slept walk through this entire 3-game set with the Yankees, and I just don't know how that's possible. I don't know how it could happen in the Subway Series. Juan Soto's return, who, by the way, I think we just need to say it, he looked horrible this weekend. He looked terrible. I can't take any more of these check swing ground outs to second base from Juan Soto. Like, what is going on with him? Did he try to change his approach? Is Eric Chavez in his ear? I mean, this does not look like the Juan Soto that we thought we were getting. And I do believe it's going to turn around. I've been on the record saying that since the beginning of the year when he struggled. Then he had his little hot streak for about a week and a half or so. And now for the last week, it's been bad again. So I don't know what's going on with Juan Soto. He does not look comfortable at the plate whatsoever. That check swing ground out to second base in, I think, the 7th inning, clear indicator of that. I mean, something about Soto is just off right now. And I was hoping that this would be the series where he did something and it would wake him up, get him going for the rest of the year, jumpstart his 2025. That obviously was not the case. I'm only hoping that it doesn't have any repercussions on him now and make the rest of his next couple of weeks or even the rest of 2025 go worse than it is already to this point. I mean, 8 home runs, 20 RBIs. OPS is like around 825, 830 now after tonight, another 0 for 4. This is not the Juan Soto that we were expecting when we signed him for that kind of money. And I'm not calling him out only. This whole lineup has not lived up to the expectations to this point. They should be scoring 5 runs per game. They're not close to that right now. They're not even close to that. They look like a very meek bunch going up to the plate. I understand the Yankees have a pretty good pitching staff. Yeah, I'll give it to them. But the Mets just did not put up quality at-bats this entire series. I mean, the entire series. Even go back to yesterday, Francisco Lindor's game-winning sac fly. He had a 3-0 count. He ends up hitting a lazy fly ball to left center field. That, with any other runner on third base, is not deep enough to score them, but fortunately it was Luis Angel Acuna. And that's just one specific example. The rest of the bats throughout this lineup, throughout this weekend, did not look like they were ready to play this week. It was a tough watch from start to finish. That's all I could say. Yankees max free to game 3 to face the Mets. We weren't supposed to win the game. Yeah, I mean, the Yankees are little brother, obviously. You know, they're afraid of big brother and they wanted to throw their best. Like, whatever. We still got 2 runs off him. It is what it is. The Mets did not play their best baseball this weekend. I feel like the Yankees probably played close to their best version of baseball. So say what you want. It is what it is. I still think the Mets are a better team. I'm not moved by the Yankees winning 2 out of 3 in this series at all. I think it's Aaron Judge, and the rest of that lineup is like, okay, like whatever. Not very scared of it at all. We'll pitch around Judge, and for the most part, it's going to work. Tonight, it obviously didn't. You know, the dam got too full, and it broke down in the 8th inning there, and it is what it is. But I still think the Mets are a better team. James, what's up, man? How you doing? Soto disappointed? Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. Even that ball in right field, yeah, I said it in the moment. He's loafing. He's loafing to that ball. Like, what's going on with him? I mean, like, we have to hold him to a standard. We can't just idolize him because he's Juan Soto and because we paid him all this money and we're married to him for the next 15 years. No, like, he needs to be held to a standard. And I hope Mendoza's in his year because he was loafing to that ball in right field there in the 8th inning. Did it make a difference? No, nobody added an extra base, advanced to an extra base because of it, but it's a bad visual. Just like the Pete Alonso throw, a bad visual. I thought that he was probably going to be safe on that throw at home, even if it was perfect, but a bad look for the Mets. It's just more LOL Mets fuel for the haters to use. We just have to tune it out and ignore it. It'll pass. It is what it is. I fully believe the Mets are still a better team than the Yankees. I think they played their best baseball this weekend. I think the Mets played some of their worst baseball of 2025 this weekend, and really this whole week going back to Monday. So it is what it is. We'll see them in Citi Field in July, and I think if the Mets are playing to their full ability by that point, it'll be a much, much different outcome than it was this weekend. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments how you feel about this series. What's your main takeaway? James says McNeil's better hitting numbers than Soto. Yeah, I mean, that's bad. That's bad because I didn't even want McNeil on this team. Even when he came back up, I said it. I don't want him on this team anymore. Like, give me Luis Angel Acuna. And now, lately, Jeff McNeil has been their best hitter. He's been putting up the best at-bats lately. Normally, Jeff McNeil's 0-2 immediately, swinging at balls at his feet, popping them up to left field. Instead, Jeff McNeil works a leadoff walk there in the 6th inning, ends up tying it, taking a couple extra bases, and then taking home on the wild pitch, has the RBI single. He has one of their 3 hits in this game. I mean, what is going on? This whole Mets world is just topsy-turvy, turned on its head right now. It does not make sense. I mean, it's just one of those series that you got to just flush and forget about, I guess. But you got to have a talk about it if you're Mendy, because I don't like the way they look this week. They were all winnable games. The Mets committed a lot of errors. They shot themselves in the foot. They did not hit well with runners in scoring position once again. I did not like their approach at the plate. It was a very uninspiring series from the Mets. Again, not because of the results. Had the Mets won 2 out of 3, had they came back, held the Yankees scoreless there in the 8th inning, and then scored a run in the 9th themselves to win 3-2 or 4-2, I'd be saying mostly the same stuff. that this was not an impressive series from the Mets. They did not play good baseball. Not in the field. Their pitching was up and down. I give the bullpen a lot of credit. For the most part, they did their job. The starters, for the most part, did their job. Griffin Canning, David Peterson pitched well enough to get wins yesterday, and then tonight from Peterson. Friday was, throw it out the window with Tyler McGill. That was abhorrent. But the hitting from start to finish, from Friday's first pitch until the last pitch just recorded there in the top of the ninth, I did not like what I saw from this lineup. Can we talk about Francisco Alvarez? When is this guy going to take a step? When is Francisco Alvarez going to finally live up to the number one prospect in baseball billing that he had surrounding him? I gave him a pass when he got injured last year. He came back. He didn't hit very well. I said this year's got to be the year. He's got to put it together now. We need to see something out of Francisco Alvarez in 2025. Does this guy ever not swing out of his shoes? Is he ever not trying to hit a 700-foot home run? 2 strikes, 0-2, almost seemingly every count, every at-bat. And he is swinging for the fences. 2 states over. How about a 2-strike approach? How about trying to go opposite field? They're just rearing back and throwing 99, 98 by him because they know that he's not going to hit it. When is Francisco Alvarez going to take that next step? When is he going to make an adjustment? When is he going to finally live up even close to the expectations that we had for him when he was coming up as not only the top prospect in the Mets farm system, but the top prospect in all of baseball? I admire what he's done with the pitching staff. I appreciate how much the pitchers enjoy pitching to him and what he does for the staff. But we need something out of that bat. We need Alvarez to start hitting. I think he is a huge catalyst for this team. We said when he went down, before we saw how well Luis Torrens performed the first few weeks of this season, Alvarez is that guy that lengthens this lineup, that makes that 6 through 8 portion of the Mets lineup not that easy breezy portion for opposing pitchers. Well, right now, the only breeze going on is Francisco Alvarez swinging and missing, because he's been doing a whole lot of that. Another opportunity tonight with a runner on second, runner in scoring position, swing and a miss, 3-pitch strikeout. I mean, when's it going to come for this guy? James says Alvarez is overrated, can't hit, catch, or throw the ball. I mean, I think defensively he's still pretty solid. He's better than advertised. When we first brought him up, we thought that was going to be the biggest issue for him. We thought he'd be clobbering 20 to 25 home runs easily with a ceiling of 30, but that his defense would be the issue. And it's the opposite right now. And I don't know if he's just invested and poured so much of himself into the defense and to getting on the same page with the pitching staff and strategizing for opposing hitters behind the plate. And maybe he's taken away from some of his preparation as a hitter. I don't know if that's the case. That's why this week I suggested maybe let Luis Torrens catch a little more often and have Alvi DH while Jesse Winker is out. I mean, anything to get his bat going, because I do believe he's a huge game changer. But at the end of the day, like I said, if Pete Alonso, Juan Soto, and Francisco Lindor are combining to go 0 for 12, then what does it matter? You're probably not going to win many games like that. There's not many teams in baseball that can have the top 3 in their order combined to go 0 for 12 and still win a ball game against a good team like the Yankees. So, frustrating series all around. I mean, just brutal. The Mets tonight, what did they do with runners in scoring position? 1 for 7 and left 5 men on base tonight. I mean, this is like status quo at this point, you know? It's May 18th, and this is kind of who the Mets are to this point. Until they prove it otherwise, the Mets are not a good situational hitting team. They hit .222 with runners in scoring position. Way more often than not, they fail to get those runs home. They are well below average. It's probably, at this point, still bottom 5 in Major League Baseball average with runners in scoring position. And one of the biggest culprits for that, and I hate to say it, is Juan Soto. It's Juan Soto. You know, he's hitting, I think, 145 with runners in scoring position this year. Last year with the Yankees, he hit 340 in those spots. I don't know what's going on with the dude. Not ready to call it quits, obviously. This is 15 years. We are in it for the long haul, like it or not. And I love it. I do. Just not so much right now. This has been a really tough watch from Juan Soto. Even more infuriating is to see the Yankees and their fans get the last laugh in their stadium. As Soto punches out twice tonight, punched out yesterday. Did not have an impactful at-bat this entire series. He had a base hit yesterday. He scored a couple runs. Yeah, he stole a base or two here and there, but where's the Juan Soto hitting the ball out of the ballpark? Where's the Juan Soto getting a bases clearing double or even just a RBI double? Because, I mean, the Mets aren't getting on base so much lately these days. 3 hits today. How many walks did the Mets draw in this one? 2. So the Mets had, or 3, excuse me. So the Mets had 6 total base runners tonight. I mean, what? Meanwhile, the Mets walked 8 Yankees. The Mets pitching staff walked 8 Yankees. One of them was intentional to Aaron Judge. So, okay, if you want to wipe that one away. But nonetheless, they have 7 hits. They have 8 walks. They ended up also struggling, 4 for 10 with runners in scoring position. One of them, of course, the Cody Bellinger base hit. But overall, you know what? It's just it's a tough series for the Mets lineup. It's a bad look. It's a bad look for the lineup. Bad look in the field. Mark Vientos, Pete Alonso with 2 bad errors that opened the door tonight. In the first inning to score their first 2 runs. And then, of course, as they explode for 6 runs there in the 8th inning with the Cody Bellinger grand slam. So, I mean, it sucks. It is what it is. Soto's hit him 132 with runners in scoring position, says James, and Acuna 172. Yeah, Acuna has not been hitting well in situations like that either. It's been a drag. It's been a total drag. I mean, they are in a slump right now. I hope Eric Chavez has something up his sleeve. And if not, maybe it might be time to start considering hitting the road because something ain't right about this lineup right now. You know, it's just weird to me that you can go from last weekend with the Cubs where you hit 9 home runs over 3 games. You score 5 runs, 6 runs, and then 7 runs in those 3 games. So a combined 18 runs in that series and 9 homers. And then to just get shut down by the Pirates in the beginning of this week. And then to look as meek and as awful as you did against the Yankees. I get it. You know, Carlos Rodon's pitching well this year. He pitched pretty well on Friday. Not great. Today, you had Max Fried, who pitched well. Not great, but pretty well. He had the stuff. And then yesterday, you had Clark Schmidt. I mean, they all just a brutal series for the Mets. So, no time to get too down on it, though. We go right back into action tomorrow. The Mets taking on the Red Sox beginning tomorrow night. Let's take a look at that real quick before we wrap things up. And like I said, guys, be sure to check out my new video I just dropped. It's on my channel, how the 1992 Mets became the worst team money could buy. Worked really hard on that one, poured a lot into it. I hope you guys enjoy it. I think it came out pretty good, and I think it's a cool little feature on one team that we'd probably like to forget, but still, it's nice to check back in on history, see how far we've come, or have we? I don't know. We'll see how the 2025 Mets pan out. Right now, I'm a little down on them. Tomorrow, the Mets will have their ace on the mound, thank goodness. Kodai saying 4-2 on the year, a 1.02 ERA, has 42 strikeouts this season, and the Mets will be opposed by Hunter Dobbins. Dobbins is a righty. He's 25 years old. This is actually his rookie season so far in 4 total starts, a 3.9 ERA over 28 innings. So, look, we'll see what happens. Hopefully the Mets will wake up here on that flight out to Boston tonight because they need something. They looked lifeless this weekend against the Yankees. Like I said, even if the Mets won this game, they came back and won 3-2. You know, they shut the Yankees down in the 8th. I would have said the same thing I'm saying right now. That is that the Mets did not look good this weekend. They did not play a quality brand of baseball. I've seen them play better this year. I expect them to play better this year. This was not a good weekend for the Mets in the field, on the mound, or at the plate. And in the end, to lose 2 out of 3, I'll be honest, I think the Mets are lucky they didn't get swept this week. The way they played in all 3 facets of the game, they 100% deserved to be swept. They're better than this Yankees team. I full-heartedly believe that. I think they're firing on all cylinders. By the time they meet again at Citi Field in July, then the Mets will be getting the last laugh, whether that's 2 out of 3 or a sweep. But right now, today, here, the Mets got their asses handed to them because they did not play up to the standard that we as fans expect out of them and that they should be holding each other accountable to in that clubhouse. They're capable of it. They did not do it this weekend. It was a rough series in all three facets of the game for the Mets. So, tough one. It is what it is. We flush it. We move on. We go out to Fenway beginning tomorrow. Kodai Senga taking on Dobbins. Hopefully the Mets get back on track now after a really rough weekend in the Bronx. My main takeaways, again, the offense, they got to get it and kick-started and get it going. It does not look good right now, and it begins at the top of the order. Number two takeaway, I am hoping that this is not going to have a lingering effect on Juan Soto because he did not look good in this series. He did not get the last laugh. The Yankees fans did. You know what he heard out in the outfield and when he was coming to and from the plate, especially after those strikeouts tonight and yesterday. I am hoping that this is not going to send Soto even further back than I think he already is at this point early on in 2025. And lastly, we're still in first place. The sky is not falling, but we do need to start playing better baseball. This has been a week going now since the beginning of that Pirates series. It has been a really, really bad last 6 games for the Mets. And yet they're 3-3. So that's the positive side of all this. Despite everything I'm saying, that I don't think they played good baseball for the last week, they ended up 3-3. You would have preferred it to be a little better when you had 3 of those against the Pirates, but in the end, it is what it is. You got one from Paul Skeens. You got one in the stadium in the Bronx this weekend, even though, let's be honest, I don't think they even deserved to win yesterday. I don't think they even deserved 1 out of the 3 games in this set. But at the end of the day, 3 out of 3 over the last 6 without playing their best quality of baseball. In fact, I'll go on record saying I think this is the worst that the Mets have looked so far in 2025. Going to that Pirates series and move forward to today, that's how I feel. James Nixon, 7. Let's go, baby. New York, let's go. Go New York, go New York, go. I'm pumped. Wednesday, first game of the Eastern Conference Finals at MSG, Knicks Pacers. I am hyped. We need to get some revenge on Indiana from last year. We obviously have the rivalry dating back to the early or mid-90s and 2000 with the Pacers and Reggie Miller. I am hoping that Reggie Miller is not on the call for any of those games, but I have a bad feeling he will be if it's on TNT, which really sucks. They shouldn't even allow it. If they're going to do that, give us Mike Breen to be his partner or give us, like, I don't know, John Starks or something. Like, come on. But hopefully the Knicks do take care of business against Indiana and go to their first finals appearance since 1999. I was 5 years old. I don't even remember it, obviously. So I'm hoping that'll be the case. Give us something to take our minds off of this horrible performance from the Mets here over the weekend in the Bronx. So what is your guys' main takeaway from this series? Because like I said, I am just... Even if the Mets came back and won this game today, even if they didn't give up that huge 8th inning to them, I still would not have been happy. I just do not think they played good baseball this week. I mean, I'm not used to seeing it dating back to the second half of last year and then to mostly how they've played here in 2025. There's been some, hiccups, some speed bumps in the road. But for the most part, they've been playing like a high-quality playoff team. They did not look like a playoff team at all this weekend. They certainly did not against the lowly Pittsburgh Pirates to begin the week. So we're going on a 6-game stretch now where the Mets just have looked really, really bad. I mean, in all areas of the game, pitching, hitting, fielding. I mean, just a really ugly series for the Mets. James says half a game up on Philly. Is it really down to only half a game in the NL East now? You got to be kidding me. I haven't even been looking at the standings. I always have that rule. I try not to until like June. But if it's down to half a game now, that's a little concerning. I mean, I knew, wow, okay. Mets are half a game up on the Phillies now. Phillies are 7-3 in their last 10. They've won 3 in a row. And the Mets are 29-18. The Phillies are 28-18. Okay, game on. This is it. I didn't expect the Mets to run away with the NL East. I did expect them at some point to fall down into second place in the NL East. It could happen as early as tomorrow. So here we go. This is what baseball is all about. I mean, would I have loved for them to run away with it? Yeah, I didn't think it was going to happen, but here we are, half a game ahead of the Phillies. I mean, the largest lead we had was what, like 4.5 or like 5 on the Phillies at one point? So, I mean, obviously was never insurmountable, but the Mets have, been basically a 500 team in their last 22, 23 games. You were talking about that earlier this week. It's like they've not been playing good ball. Metropoli, John, we still have not lost 3 in a row. Yeah, I mean, that's great and all. I'd like to see them start winning 3 in a row or, pull off 5 out of 6, something like that. We need to get on one of those little tears. We're not going to beat those allegations of we don't beat good teams if we don't start beating good teams more often. Feels like it all kind of began with that doubleheader in St. Louis. When that Saturday game got rained out, they played 2 on Sunday. They lost both games by 1 run. They did end up winning 2 out of 3 in Arizona then right after that, but it just kind of feels like ever since that Cardinals series, some of the air has been let out of the balloon. The pitching staff has not been as dominant, and to be fair, like they were pitching at such a historic pace that it was never like realistic to expect the names in this rotation or in the bullpen to continue doing it, but you combine with how they're playing with some of the injuries, with A.J. Minter going down for the year, Danny Young going down for the year. Even Ryan Stanek had a mound visit today where Mendoza and the trainer went out there. I don't know if there was something there, but I mean, pretty much right after that, he blew up the game. Gave up a couple of runs there. Obviously the throwing error is the huge part of it, but I mean, hopefully Ryan Stanek's okay too, because the Mets cannot afford to lose anybody else out of this bullpen. I mean, at the end of the day, the grand slam from Cody Bellinger ends up coming off Genesis Cabrera. The fact we're throwing Genesis Cabrera is ridiculous. I know he's been okay so far, but I mean, not the guy you want in when you're trying to keep a game close or if you're tight game like that. But that's just where we are at this point, between the injuries, between the overusage of some of the guys in the pen, not getting enough length out of the starting rotation. Right now, the Pistons are now firing on all cylinders for the Mets, and they got to get it jump-started again. And hopefully it will happen here with Boston, because guess what? As soon as they come back to New York, they welcome in the Dodgers, who, to be fair and put this all into perspective so that we're not freaking out, did the Mets lose 2 out of 3 to the Yankees this weekend in the Bronx? Yes. But the Dodgers just got swept by the Angels this weekend at home. So it's going to happen over a full 162. Peaks and valleys, people. There are going to be ups and downs. Sometimes the downs just sting a lot more than the ups feel good. And that's kind of how I'm feeling right now, because I did not like what I saw from the Mets this weekend. Forget the scoreboard. Even if the Mets won 2 out of 3, I would not be coming on here hooting and hollering, saying how the Mets are the daddies of the Yankees and Big Brother in New York. No, because I don't think they played a good brand of baseball whatsoever this weekend. That's just me. James, Philly has Colorado and the Athletics, and we got Boston and LAD. Yeah, but you know what? These things even out, because then we're going to have a stretch where the Mets play the Rockies and the White Sox, and then only a couple of weeks later, the Mets go back out to Colorado, which I will be there for, and play them in Denver. So there's, going to be those parts of the schedule where we're playing real tough teams. Our division rivals are playing, the scrubs of the league. But, it goes back and forth. So you just got to take care of business against those teams. And that's why a lot of people were really upset that the Mets got shut out by the Pirates on Wednesday and couldn't complete the sweep. Doesn't seem like a big deal, but if you can get fat on those really crappy scrub teams, that's how you make your money. That's how you get to the playoffs. Then you just got to hope to be playing really good baseball come postseason time. That's what happened last year with the Mets. You get to the playoffs, get in the dance, you got to put a quarter in the jukebox and be ready to dance. That's it. But tough little part of the schedule for the Mets. It is what it is. Soto, the best player money, worst player money can buy. I mean, right now, man, I can't disagree. Soto looks horrible. Soto looks like crap right now at the plate. And this was humiliating for him, I'm sure. I really, truly believe he is embarrassed by his performance in the Bronx this weekend. I mean, he got it. He heard it. I don't know what the deal is. Why is there no Soto shuffle anymore? What happened? Like, he said in an interview with Gelbs that it needs to feel right. It'll just happen. It's not like he plans it. Like, we haven't seen it at all this year. And I don't know. What is it? What about him doesn't feel right? And if it's that he picked the Mets, that's a serious problem. He'll never admit it. But if that's the case, that's a serious problem. I hope that's not the case. I don't think it is. I'm not trying to start any issues here. But he does look like crap right now. I can't lie about that, Joe. Soto does look like the worst player money can buy right now. Hopefully you checked out my video, Worst Team Money Could Buy, the 1992 New York Mets. Check that out, guys, after I finish this stream. It's on my channel right now. It's a little bit of a long watch, but you can skip through parts of it if you want. But a lot of historical bits in there from that team. The rise of it, and then obviously the fall of it and everything that happened after into the early 90s where the Mets were just an absolute mess. James says they messed up with Holmes' rest too. I hope it doesn't foul him up. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see about Holmes. Holmes seems like one of those kind of even-keeled dudes. Not much bothers him. I don't feel like he's used to being a closer, man. They get jerked around all the time. I don't think it's going to mess him up. I think he'll be fine, get him moved around. 11-11 in their last 22, though, that's not fine. That is not fine at all. So in that stretch, we have had the Yankees for 3. We've had the Cubs for 3. We've had the Diamondbacks for 3. The Cardinals for 3. So that's what? 15 games right there. And then before that, 3 more with the Diamondbacks. So that's 18. Give me, what would be the 3 before that? Is it the Nationals series, maybe? I think it might have been the series with the Nationals before that, that 4-game series. So that's it. You know, it kind of all began with those 2 bad walk-off losses with Ryan Stanek on the mound out there in D.C. The Mets squandered 2 chances to beat up on a bad team out in D.C. They had to settle for a 2-2 split with them that weekend. And then pretty much ever since then, yeah, they've been a 500 team, 11-11 in their last 22, like James said in the chat. It's brutal. Yeah, so Phillies lose, what is his name? Is it Alvarado, right? For the Phillies, their closer. He gets a PED suspension. So Alvarado, apparently the Phillies came out in a statement and said he was using a weight loss drug. That is what spiked the performance-enhancing drug test to catch him. And now he is suspended for 80 games. So the Phillies are without their closer for the next 80 games. Because he was taking Ozempic. He was feeling a little chubby on the sides there. He had the muffin top going, and he was feeling a little insecure in his baseball uniform. So he was on the Ozempic, and he gets popped for PED. So he's out for 80 games. I'm not going to cry a river for him. He's the Phillies. They're the Phillies, and he's always been one of those dudes that I just can't stand. Anytime anybody on the Phillies I don't like, but specifically him, he's just got that face that you don't like. So big blow for the Phillies. Not my problem. Mets got their own problems, though, if we're being fair right now. Philly rolled out awesome rookie pitcher, beat Skeens today. Who was that? Give me his name. I didn't catch that. I was super busy all day today. Jose Alvarado. I like it. I like it, Montreal. That's nice. Well, look, I think the stream is kind of giving me some wonky little, yeah, it's not streaming so well today. I'm going to work on this here, guys. I don't know why I've been having so many issues with it lately, but do appreciate you guys all tuning in. Like I said, unfortunately, the Mets do drop the series with the Yankees. They lose Sunday Night Baseball to them, a final of 8-2. The Pete Alonso error opening the door for the Yanks. But the main takeaway for me is that this team just looked lethargic from wire to wire, from the beginning of Friday until the very final out here tonight. And I need to see them pick it up. And it needs to happen fast because the competition is only getting stiffer. We got Boston, then we have the Dodgers at home immediately after that when we return this upcoming weekend. I want to see the Mets start to look a little more ready to go because I did not get that vibe from them at all this weekend. I did not get that vibe from them at the beginning of last week against Pittsburgh. That switch needs to be flipped on. It needs to be flipped on fast. So that's my feelings on it. Guys, like I said, check out my new video on my channel, how the 1992 Mets became the worst team money could buy. Hopefully, we won't be saying that about the 2025 Mets anytime soon. Knock on wood. But check that out. Guys, thanks again for tuning in to the stream. We'll have another post-game stream tomorrow immediately after Mets Red Sox. Kodai Senga taking the hill for the Mets, looking to get them back in the win column. That is it for tonight, you guys. Thank you so much again. I am Tony Metro. Until next time, though, stay true to the orange and blue.